Hi class. I just wanted to touch base with you this week. It is the start of week 7 and we are working on our resumes. Uh, so if we scroll down in the week 5 to 7 lesson, we spoke a little bit about how to prepare the top part of the resume with your sort of profile. It could be some single words that stand out about you. It could be a short sentence or two. And then a summary of qualifications, maybe 5 to 6 bullet points with key skills. And then listing your education and your experience on the resume. And we talked a little bit about STAR method. There's different ways to list it. It really means, what did you do? What action did you take? What was the result? So what was the situation? What action did you take? And what was the result? And that's used in job interviews, but we can apply it to the resume. And in the last video, I spoke about that concept. This video, I want to remind you what not to put on your resume. And one of the things that is listed here is personal pronouns. Personal pronouns, like we don't say I did this and I did that on the resume. So we want to be careful for that. Statements about your health, right? Statements about your marital status. So you want to read this list. And then we're using a chronological resume format, which is really done by date, going reverse date order. So the most current work experience and then you do the next oldest work experience, the next one in sequence back. And as well with the education, you do the current education or most recent, and then you move backwards through time on your resume. That's chronological reverse order. And what I would like to show you is as you get into doing this resume, you are working in Module 3 of the Career Success Guide, and one of the items there is a targeted sample resume. So we're going to look at this. So the highlights, the yellow parts, is how this person is targeting the resume. So this person is Jane Career. This is the top of her resume, right, with the address and everything. And then she has a profile, which would also be known as a highlight of qualifications, or a summary of qualifications, however you'd like to title that. Some people actually have two separate things here. They'll have a profile, which is a short paragraph, plus a summary of qualifications. Some people have a profile, or they put some keywords under the main heading there. So there's different ways to do it. I've given you a few sample resumes to look at to give you some ideas, and you need to pick what fits you best. If you don't have very much work experience, you're probably just going to have a summary of qualifications or highlights of qualifications, or even call it a profile or just summary at the top here. There's lots of different names we can call this, but what Jane has here is she has 2 years of experience in office administration and a certificate in office administration. You can see these yellow highlighted parts. She's also mentioned her computer skills and communication and ability to meet tight deadlines. Now, why was that all mentioned? If we scroll down and look at the job ad, we see that these were requirements in the job ad. And that's what the word targeted means, how to target your resume. You look at the job ad for what the responsibilities and requirements are, and then you go up to your resume and you make sure that you are saying these things, if not just in the profile, but throughout, that you're supporting or telling the employer how you have those skills and where you gained those skills. So Jane Career, her next section on her resume is education, which yours would also be because you're currently at Centennial College, unless you have a lot of related work experience. And we can see that she's put her education in, and she's put relevant courses that she's taken that would also be targeted to what the job advertisement is asking for. So this job advertisement is asking for proficiency in Microsoft Office. So you want to make sure that you're pointing that out to the employer. Multitasking and some other things. Outlook, Adobe. So if she has those, then she would put them on the resume here. Sometimes with students or new graduates, they don't put work experience. So if you have no work experience, you can put related experience. And related experience could be work experience, or it could just be related experience as in the types of projects you did at school. So we'll look at an example of that in a minute. Jane here obviously has work experience. She's been an administrative assistant, and we can see that she's listing her skill or what she's accomplished at these positions. So she says New Planet Environmental Services, oh, that's the place. Organize and maintain customer files, prepare letters, and other customer correspondence. Now that I see this New Planet Environmental, that should not be a bullet point. That should be up under the administrative assistant, because that is actually the place where she worked. So that's a typing error in this document, just to point that out. As you see the next one, you see how it has the name of the company there? That's what you want to have up there. The other thing that she does here is she's talking about her present position. Notice the verbs that she's using: responsible for, arrange trade shows. Those are present tense verbs, like this is what I do. I research, I arrange, I'm responsible, I prepare. But notice that the previous job, she's using past tense, like identified with a D, prepared, scheduled, interacted. These are past tense because she did them in the past. So you want to make sure you're doing the same thing. As you go back through time, you use past tense verbs, and when you talk about the current position, you use present tense verbs. Now, here she's talking about volunteer work, and this is where the STAR method comes in. This first volunteer job, first she says assist it during career week, but then she said promote at career week events to students, helped with registration, and greeted employers. That's a bit of a story about what she's doing. Here's another example. There's a couple even better ones on here. So she says 12-day service learning project that prepared students to be leaders of positive social change in our interconnected world. This is what she's doing. And then here's another one. Co-curricular program that focuses on student leadership development through theoretical and practical learning that encompasses volunteerism, international education, and service learning. Now, another thing that we don't do any longer is we don't put references on our resume. We don't say references available upon request. Just don't even bother putting that on there. It's just assumed that your references are available upon request. Now let's look at this little bit, because this is another example of resumes that students might use similar phrases here. So this phrase is saying devised a thesis based on the socioeconomic ramifications of Shakespeare's works in the Elizabethan era. Engaged, and these are past tense again, engaged in intensive research spanning 3 different cities in England. Arranged and conducted interviews with 10 plus individuals ranging in profession from librarians to actors to historians. See, that's a good sort of star. She's arranging and conducting the interviews and talking a little bit about what that was about. That's a story there, right? Produced a final paper totaling 65,000 words with approval from my study abroad instructor. Now, the word my, I'm not sure we want that on there, right? From the study abroad instructor, maybe, and UCLA English department head. So it's a good idea to write out your draft of your resume and maybe visit the careers office and see if a careers advisor will go through it with you to fine tune it, like catch these little errors, or a friend can help you as well. But if your friend isn't, a native English speaker, it's always good to have someone who has good English skills to have a look at your resume before you submit it to me. Here's another entry. So worked alongside an English professor to create and execute lesson plans, improved freshman level writing scores by 40%. There's an actual result, right? Improved freshman level writing scores by 40% through group lessons, supplementary one-on-one training. So this entry here about Beacon Tutor, this is really well worded, because first they're telling the situation, then they're also talking about the action and the result. Received an average score of 9 out of 10 on anonymous tutor reviews. And and reviews given students at the end of each semester given to students. So this is really nicely worded here. You want to sort of aim for that sort of thing. She's saying what she did. She's talking about concrete results. So that's always good. Employers like to see that you've accomplished something and what those results are. So again, you can do a search for resumes. You can go through the Career Success Guide, and there are samples in here. And under Higher Centennial, which is also linked to through the Career Success Guide, you can get more sample resumes. And I may have a link in here to some sample resumes as well. So you would want to just have a little look at a few and make sure that maybe you can get someone to review your resume before it's due. So those were the tips that I wanted to share with you. Make sure that you're reading the 5 to 7 outline, and under the assignments where we have our targeted resume assignment, you will be picking one of the job ads that are posted, and there's 8 of them, I believe, something that interests you, and then you'll be targeting your resume toward that job ad. And there's sample resumes here as well, customer service one, an operations one, and business administrative. You might be able to pick up some verbs on there, or some looking at certain language or sentences, how the student structures it, how the headings look like. Here's one where she has a profile, and it's really just short: outgoing, friendly, quick learner. That is like a profile. And then under it, she's calling the second section a profile, but this is really like a summary of qualifications. And then education, and then extracurricular activities. You don't really need hobbies and interests unless they relate to the job that you're applying for, right? You don't need to say references available upon request. So there's things that you don't need anymore. Here's college student resume. There was something that I was going to look for here. Tips. That was it. And here you see, so it says if you don't have a lot of work history, you can change the words. You don't have to call it work history. You can call it relevant experience. And then it can be different types of experience. It doesn't have to be jobs, right? So it can be project work that you've done at school, or research that you've done at school. So there's lots of great websites for this sort of information. Okay, everybody, well, good luck on your resume assignment. Like I said, it's always good to get a few people to review it if you can and give you feedback, because they often catch spelling errors or other things that maybe you could improve. Excuse me. This resume is due October 18 in the Dropbox with the posting of the job ad that you're applying to, so that I know which one you're linking up to. Okay, thank you, everybody.